This morning, I'd like to talk with you about two Gettysburgs. One is my Gettysburg and yours, the college we love that has played such a significant role in each of our lives, our Gettysburg. The other Gettysburg is the world's Gettysburg, the Gettysburg that for generations has done an astonishing job of sending ambitious, well-educated, active young people out there to tackle a range of society's challenges and opportunities. So let's start with the personal, with our Gettysburg. We each have a Gettysburg story. They're all different. But I'm willing to bet there are some similar themes through our stories. My Gettysburg story began when I was 17 years old, very young. Whew, how about that? I knew I wanted to go to college. I came from a large high school outside of Philadelphia. My oldest brother had gone to Penn State, but my thinking was, I don't really want to go to a big place. I wanted a small college experience. I was a pretty good student, near the top of my class. I had good board scores, and I was involved in a lot of high school activities. So when I talked with my guidance counselor, she recommended that I take a look at some strong liberal arts colleges in Pennsylvania. I did some touring around, and on one trip, I visited 2 orange and blue schools, and I was completely impressed with Gettysburg. And I think it was a day kind of like yesterday. It was pouring, teeming rain during my tour, but despite that, everything felt right. I liked everyone I talked to, the people were friendly even in the pouring rain, and the quality of the college was affirmed by a friend of the family who'd graduated from Gettysburg. Both my head and my heart told me that this would be a great place to go, so I applied early decision, and that was that. I arrived thinking I wanted to be a math major because it was something I could do fairly well, and frankly, it seemed practical. However, to fulfill a distribution requirement, I ended up in an introductory psychology class that, frankly, I was really irritated about having to take. Thane Pittman was my professor. He looks a little different today. It was in that class that I found my academic passion and my mentor. I had excellent faculty in both the math and psychology departments who really cared about me as a student and as a person, so I decided to complete both majors. But I was really hooked by psychology, and I started to work very closely with Thane. He had a very active research program, and he hired me as a research assistant. There's no doubt that I learned as much through that experience as I did in any class. And then, at the end of my junior year, he said, Janet, you should go to graduate school. Well, I had never thought about that. So I said, really? How do I do that? Well, he told me I should do independent research during my senior year to get that experience, and that he would help me think about where to apply. So I thought about that all summer, and I returned in the fall, and I found him at the psychology department registration table right here in this room, and I said, okay, I'll do it. So he supervised my independent research, and he gave me a list of 6 or 8 graduate programs to apply to. He talked to me about the applications, and he encouraged me to apply for some fellowships. And the next spring, I was admitted to Princeton's doctoral program in social psychology, an excellent program with a fellowship. Amazing, amazing, really. So off I went. And by the way, I have to tell you, I went with an inferiority complex, imagining what my fellow students were going to be like. Not long after I got there, I realized I was far better prepared than most of the people in my entering class. I'd had the research experience. I'd done a lot of statistics and experimental design. I'd already written research reports, APA style. Some psychology majors, I heard that. A lot of the other students had not had the same depth of experience, since they had come from larger programs that just didn't have the capacity to provide those kinds of experiences for their undergraduate students. So thanks to my Gettysburg education, I was a step ahead. I'm telling you all this not because my own story is really all that interesting, but because I'm betting that at least some of this feels familiar to you. Some of you, no doubt, remember visiting Gettysburg in the pouring rain as a prospective student or as the parent of a prospective student, and knowing that Gettysburg just felt right. Or you might remember stumbling onto an academic major by taking a distribution requirement, or finding a faculty member who encouraged and mentored you. Or you might remember graduating from Gettysburg wondering if you were prepared for what came next, and finding that you were exceptionally well prepared. These are our Gettysburg stories. My Gettysburg story continued when I was finishing graduate school. I was on the job, oh boy. I was on the job market, and I noticed that Gettysburg had a one-year faculty position available in the psychology department. I applied for that position, and that was in 1981. You know the punchline. I'm still here, 30 years later. Who'd have thought? I've had an incredible set of experiences as a member of an extraordinarily talented faculty, and then as provost, and now as president, which, as you might imagine, is an amazing job. It's very dynamic. The challenges are so intense, but so are the joys. No day is like the one before, and the range of issues I get to think about and the variety of people I get to interact with are truly inspiring. I can see the institution from an alumni perspective and from a faculty perspective. And from just having had 3 kids of my own in college, I can see it from the parent perspective as well. There is no question that it is a tremendous honor for me to be leading a truly great college, and one that I love so much. So why is it that I'm so devoted to this place? Why do I care so much about Gettysburg's success? Besides the fact that I think I do literally have orange and blue running through my veins, it's because I really do believe we're doing something very important here. And I think you're here today because you believe the same thing.